Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Chris Maloney back with you for another edition of CWN Weekly, episode number 29, coming to you live Friday, March the 5th, 2021. Yes, we're back on Fridays. And yes, I've had my coffee. And so far, there's no cat at all sitting by the Ethernet cable here. So we'll have to wait and see when he makes his appearance, because that's always seems to be the way. But like I said, Chris Maloney, London, Ontario, Canada, March the 5th. And it's cold and windy outside here in London today. But again, it's March, it's winter, and it's London, Ontario. So anyways, I will leave it at that. Hope you guys had a good week. Episode 29, like I said, it's interesting. So I'm thinking I might, for episode 30, maybe change up the opening logos, change up the opening graphics, change up the opening music. And we'll have to wait and see what happens for episode 30 next week. But I'll get more to that at the end of the show there. First and foremost, happy 10th anniversary to my sis. And there is the cat, by the way. So he must have heard me recording this podcast. He's eating right now, but he hasn't made his way to the cables yet. But water bottles on standby. But anyways, happy 10th anniversary to my sister Danielle and her soon-to-be husband, hopefully, Sam. They've been together, like I said, 10 years. They have a baby boy, baby girl together, my nephew and niece. And man, it's hard to believe that he's put up with her for 10 years. I tell you that much there. But anyways, Ugly, happy 10th anniversary to you and Sam. And anyways, we'll see you soon. Anniversaries, birthdays for the week. Only 3. Val Venus, 1971. He was born on March 6th. He'll be 50 years old. Hard to believe he's going to be 50 years old. Cody Diener, March the 7th. So that's going to be on Sunday. 39 years old. So the big one, not yet, but the big one will be next year for the one and only Cody Diener there. Otherwise just known as Diener now. And like I said, 39 years old on Sunday. And then on March the 10th, unfortunately, back in 1993, Dino Bravo passed away, murdered, shot. Everybody knows the story with regards to Dark Side of the Ring and the papers and everything else that, what happened back there in 1993. But he was only 44 years old when he ended up passing away. So, thoughts and prayers still out there with his family and friends. But, I remember 1993 and hearing about it. And we didn't have the internet back then, that's how old I am. But anyways, I remember it being major news with regards to Dino Bravo. So, and as a kid, as a fan, it sucked. But anyways, that's coming up on the 10th, which is next Wednesday, I believe. Major news of the week. Unfortunately, 3 people have passed away. 1 wrestling related, 2 sports related. All legends in my point of view here. The first was back on the 3rd. It was announced. I just got finished watching almost at Impact, but AEW as well as NXT, and I went to take it easy and just basically tuck myself in for the night and go on my phone and mentally exhaust myself, so to speak. And all of a sudden the news broke that Jim Crockett Jr. Passed away at the age of 76 years old. And it was interesting because of the fact that on the 28th, just a couple days prior to, it was announced by Dave Meltzer that he was in grave condition. And then all of a sudden, Greg Oliver broke the news, like I said, on the 3rd with regards to him passing away. So lengthy lengthy article up on Slam Wrestling right now. You can find the link on CWNonline.ca, of course, but slamwrestling.net. Jim Crockett Jr., the promoter, took his father's Mid-Atlantic Wrestling regional promotion and made it to a national entity as the National Wrestling Alliance. World Championship Wrestling has died. He was 76 years old. He had been in ill health for the last little while. James Allen Crockett Jr. was born August 10th, 1944, Charlotte, North Carolina, to Jim and Elizabeth Crockett. Went to Myers Park High School. He was one of 4 children, including David, Jackie, and Francis. When Jim Crockett Sr. died on April 1st, 1973, Jim Jr. was one of the first 3 people who took over Crockett Promotions, Inc. Known to wrestling fans as Mid-Atlantic Territory since the 70s, which was run out of a 2-room office on Moorhead Street in Charlotte. He had been around the promotion a bit when his dad ran it, the talent referring to them as Big Daddy and Little Jim, but had little say in day-to-day operations back then. And the article goes on. So guys, slamwrestling.net, you can find the link, like I said, cwnonline.ca. But the 28th, it was announced that he was sick, and then he ends up passing away just on Wednesday there on the 3rd. So thoughts and prayers with the family, friends, and fans of Jim Crockett Jr. It's 76 years old. He lived a long life, but still, I heard talks of him getting COVID and being sick, and unfortunately, he ends up passing away on Wednesday night. So, like I said, thoughts and prayers and strength are with the friends, family, and fans of him. NWA to me was different. It was unique. WCW, I was in Ontario, so I went through the Monday Night Wars here in Ontario. But the NWA down home, so when I say down home, the East Coast, St. John, New Brunswick, you learn about it and everything else. And it was interesting because you'd read the wrestling magazines back in the day, and you hear about Sting, and you'd hear about Nature Boy Ric Flair, the Four Horsemen, the Steiner Brothers, the Road Warriors, those guys there. And it was interesting because of the fact it wasn't the WWE, it wasn't WWF, it wasn't Vince McMahon, you know what I mean? So as a kid, it was interesting, and all of a sudden Ted Turner takes over, and then, they go through that early 90s phase where it wasn't the greatest as far as WCW and WWE went. And then next thing you know, it ends up being, so I'm like, I can hear that noise through the headset. And I'm like, okay, I don't see the cat, but there is a scratching post in the hallway, and he's making his presence known again. I'm going to have another talk with my wife about this. He, I don't know. Anyways, his name is Rizzo. I'll tell you that. Rizzo is being a jerk a second week in a row, but he was at a scratching post, and I could hear it through the headset. But anyways, back to the NWA. To me, it was pretty cool to know it existed, and I tried to get my hands on any kind of tapes, the VHS tapes back in the day, just to learn about the NWA. So, and once again, thoughts and prayers, Jim Crockett Jr., family, friends, and fans, and 76 years old. So from there, we go into another death as well. This one not wrestling related. But this one is major as far as Canada goes, and that's the one and only. And this last night, actually, Walter Gretzky, father of the great one, Wayne Gretzky, dies at the age of 82 years old. And this came out Sportsnet. I think I saw it on Facebook, and then I went into my phone and started Googling, obviously, and then the news was true. But Walter Gretzky, the ultimate Canadian hockey dad who taught and nurtured. The great one has died 82 years old. Father Wayne Gretzky became a name himself. Constant in Wayne's world. As Wayne's star ascended, Walter remained a blue-collar symbol of devoted hockey parent in a country filled with them. Wayne Gretzky confirmed his father's death on Thursday night with a social media post. It's with deep sadness that Janet and I share the news of the passing of my dad, said Wayne. He bravely battled Parkinson's and other health issues these last few years, but he never let it get him down. That's courtesy of Sportsnet right there. When you think about Walter Gretzky, it's absolutely amazing because of the fact he was known, and I'm battling a little bit of allergies going on right now. So if I seem stuffed up or short-winded, that's the only reason why, guys. But Walter Gretzky, courtesy of, this is Wikipedia here, as far as everything that he was, notorious with regards to, not just hockey, but Canada in general. I'm just trying to find it here. I want to say Order of Canada. I also want to say Order of Ontario as well, but I'm trying to track it through this article. Maybe I'll go back to the Sportsnet one there. But I've got a personal story about Walter Gretzky as well. I'm going to share with everybody here. But I'm just trying to find out besides being Wayne Gretzky's father, obviously. Where are we here? It's a lengthy, long article. My apologies, guys. But this, like I said, just came out last night, and I was putting the show together. I want to make mention of it. Yeah, here we go. So, much sought after speaker by groups organizing sports awards dinners, which I'll get to momentarily here. And he worked tirelessly as national spokesman for the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada. He was named to the Order of Canada in 2007. 2010, Walter carried the Olympic torch on the last day of the Olympic relay in the lead up to the opening ceremonies in Vancouver, where Wayne lit the Olympic flame. So that was kind of a cool moment. Anyways, Walter Gretzky, 82 years old, ends up passing away. The short story I want to share is the fact is my mom is at one point had been doing some stuff with the March of Dimes, and she was organizing and coordinating everything else. And Walter Gretzky was the main honoree that night. So throughout the night, my mom gets up from the table where she's sitting, and she's mingling or getting a drink, whatever the case may be, and she comes back to her table, and there's this guy sitting at her seat, and she can't see who it is face wise, and she's about to say, "Excuse me, sir, but that's my spot." And as she's about to say that, he turns around, it's Walter Gretzky sitting in her seat. But yeah, that's a pretty cool moment for my mom. Never had the opportunity to get to meet Walter Gretzky, but I mean, he's synonymous with Canada, and obviously being the father, the one and only Wayne Gretzky. But thoughts and prayers again with his family, and and for everybody that knew Wayne Gretzky's name, everybody also knew Walter Gretzky's name. That's how like I said, synonymous he was here in this country. So again, thoughts and prayers with him. And just one more thing I want to mention as well with regards to Canadian sports is, and I just found this out like right before I went on the air here. TSN mourns the passing of football broadcaster Chris Schultz. Now, if you're not familiar with that name, he ended up playing with the Cowboys, I think, for 3 or 4 years back in the 80s. But CFL here in Canada, Canadian Football League, he used to do the pre-show, so to speak, and then all of a sudden, when they break into halftime, he'd do his thoughts and analysts and everything else. But TSN mourns the passing of Chris Schultz, a beloved Canadian football broadcaster and analyst for TSN's live coverage of the CFL and NFL. Chris Schultz was a gentle giant who brought passion, dedication, and energy to his coverage of the game, said Stuart Johnson, Senior Vice President of Sales and Sports for Bell Media. Chris was a unique voice in Canadian football broadcasting, an iconic figure to fans across the country. He was also the friendly face to a whole team at our studios. We extend our heartfelt condolences to Chris's family and friends. His impact upon football in Canada is simply unforgettable. Household name to Canadian football fans, Chris Schultz joined TSN in 1998 and appeared on CFL on TSN panelists for some of the biggest games in recent history, including the 100th Grey Cup. And the article goes on. That's courtesy of tsn.ca. I believe it was a heart attack. And I think I'd read that on another news website. But again, Chris Schultz passes away. He's only, I think, 61 from what I read there. But, thoughts and prayers again with him, his family, friends, and fans. And, anytime on Friday night here in Canada and CFL season kicks in, or NFL, they started to do as well. On TSN, all of a sudden you see Chris Schultz, and he went from having a mustache to no mustache. It kind of confused me. There's another guy out there, Rod Black, who kind of did the same thing and looks a lot younger. Chris Schultz, the same thing, but he looked like the article said, just a gentle giant. But again, it's news broke like just before I went on the air here. But again, from Walter Gretzky, to Jim Crockett Jr., to Chris Schultz, thoughts and prayers, guys. And, rest in power, as some people say. So, guys, news of the week as far as wrestling goes. New Japan Pro Wrestling Castle Attack Night 2 results. That took place on the 28th, which was last Sunday. I'm just trying to bring up the article here. If I can. I hope the show's going okay. I hope it's not all pixelated, but that article took a little bit to come up. So Hiroshi Tanahashi, Satoshi Kojima defeated Will Ospreay and Jeff Cobb. We got Kazuchika Okada, Tomohiro Ishii, and Toru Yano, otherwise known as Chaos, defeating Bullet Club, which is Evil, Jay White, and Chase Owens. We had IWGP Tag Team Championship match, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa defeating Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi to retain. We get Never Openweight Championship match, Hiroshi Tanahashi defeating the Great Okan to retain. And then we've got main event. Was that the main event? Semi-main event, sorry. El Desperado defeating El Phantasmo and Bushi to win the vacant titles. El Desperado is the new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. IWGP Intercontinental Championship match, Kota Ibushi defeats Tetsuya Naito to retain. So it was good to see Naito back, but anyways, that will go further into what I'm going to talk about during the show here. Report NWA taping schedule for March came out on the 28th as well. Obviously, a lot more news to that has been released, but I'm going to bring up the article here. So this was released by Post Wrestling. National Wrestling Alliance drew up a great deal of interest on social media when it's recognized that all videos on their YouTube channel were pulled, while it's been yet to be officially confirmed by why they've publicly taken down the videos. Dave Meltzer stated on Wrestling Observer Radio that NWA would be taping content from March 21st to the 24th. And I'm going to leave it at that, but I wanted to make mention of it there. Big E official trailer that was on the 28th as well. Reason I want to bring that up because it was WB 24 Big E. and that premiered last Sunday on the WB Network. I'm a huge fan of it. All the documentaries WB Network has been putting out, it's been absolutely amazing. You get to know the guys behind the scenes. You get to know what they dealt with kind of growing up. The same thing with the Broken Skull Sessions and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I learned a lot about Sasha Banks when I saw that episode there. But guys, if you haven't seen the Big E WWE 24 video, so to speak, the premiere, go check it out on the WB Network. I'm pretty sure it's on the free version as well, but you'll have to check that out. But yeah, it was pretty cool to hear the story about Big E and see how shy he was back in the day. New Japan Cup full lineup was released on the 1st, so I'm going to bring that up here. And maybe it was just an issue with the Wrestling Observer News website there, because New Japan Pro Wrestling is coming up easily. Full lineup for New Japan New Japan Cup 2021 has been revealed, with 30 wrestlers participating in a single elimination action starting on March 4th at the 49th anniversary event and running through March 21st in Sendai. The winner of the cup will be the first to challenge Kota Ibushi for the new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, with that title match set to take place on April 4th at Sumo Hall at Sakura Genesis 2021. First round bye, Evo gets it, and the reason for it is because he is the 2020 winner and his third consecutive. So that is why he gets a bye. Other matches, though, on the left bracket here, Satoshi Kojima taking on Jeff Cobb, Tetsuya Naito taking on the Great Okan, Toru Yano taking on Bad Luck Fale, Hiroki Goto taking on Taichi, Kazuchika Okada taking on Shingo Takagi, Hanma taking on Minoru Suzuki, Juice Robinson taking on Kenta. And then on the right side, so obviously left side, right side, winner's going to face off. Hiroshi Tenzan taking on Will Ospreay, Gabriel Kidd taking on Zack Sabre Jr., Yuji Nagata taking on Yota Tetsui, Tomohiro Ishii taking on Sanada, David Finlay taking on Chase Owens, Yoshihashi taking on Yujiro Takahashi, Toa Hanare taking on Jay White, and on the other side here, Hiroshi Tanahashi, the never open weight champion, gets a bye there. So guys, that is your bracket for New Japan Cup 2021, which has started. I'll get more into that just momentarily here. New Japan Cup USA returns on New Japan Strong, so that starts tonight. I'll get more into that momentarily here. AEW Casino Double or Nothing game launches for free on mobile app stores. That was weird because all of a sudden they did the preview or the promo video on the 26th. And the next thing you know, the game was available for the iPhone, so the Apple Store, so to speak. But then when I went looking for it on my tablet, and I have a Samsung tablet, it wasn't available. And then that news broke, and obviously now it's available for both. But I wonder what the delay was, because they announced it. Kenny Omega on that show with Brendan Cutler was like, you know what, it's going to be available for you guys tomorrow. And then that being said, it wasn't. Like I said, I still had it on the iPhone, but it wasn't on Google Play for whatever reason. But anyways, it's out there now. So if you're a fan of casino games, you can download it. I played poker, won some, lost some, but it's fun, and it's got the AEW feel to it. And you never seem to be able to run out of money. At least I haven't yet. So it's kind of cool that way. But check it out, iPhone, and like I said, Google Android as well. Raw results March 1st, 2021. Bobby Lashley begins the era of the almighty and dominant fashion. I'll get more to that when I do the highlights, but congratulations to Bobby Lashley on finally winning the WB Championship. And if you watched Raw this past Monday, you can definitely check out the Raw emotion. Yeah, I know Raw, but Raw emotion in his eyes on finally getting to be able to do it. And then when they're doing the backstage stuff, the promo shots and the videos and stuff like that, you can just see the emotion after, I think it was 17 years or something like that. And then there's one shot which was kind of cool. I think it's on video, but it's him, and it's like a picture of him when he's made his debut. And the next thing you know, he tears it up, and he's got the current Bobby Lashley with the championship. It was just kind of a cool thing to see. But good work, and great to see Bobby Lashley finally win the big one to set up for Mania. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen there. But I'll get more to that when I talk about the rumors. There's two rumors I want to talk about during the show, and I'll get to that just momentarily later. Every WB Fastlane, WB Evolution 2018, and more added to the free version of the WWE Network. So that was on the 2nd that was released. I got to remember to take a sinus bill before I do the show. My apologies. Smashing Pumpkins, Corgan wrestles with keeping NWA afloat. That was major news for the week here. So I'm just going to bring that up, and just bear with me a second. Get rid of some of these articles so I can see the rest of them. But where am I here? So this was Associated Press, but obviously the major news websites as well had, broken the story, so to speak. Billy Corgan wrestled with how to keep the NWA afloat during the pandemic. His wrestling company back from hiatus. And there's those stupid pop-ups. Corgan is set to return to studio and produce more smash hits. So he's going to do his music as well as the Smashing Pumpkins. But yes, Corgan is working on new music with Smashing Pumpkins, but the frontman is set to relaunch the National Wrestling Alliance with a March 21st pay-per-view titled Back for the Attack that will stream on FITE. NWA will then resume its scheduled NWA Power each Tuesday at 6:05 p.m. Eastern, starting March 23rd, and available on FITE via a low-cost subscription bundle. So no longer on YouTube. So NWA is going to be exclusively on FITE. Listen to an interview last night with regards to Nick Aldis. He was on Busted Open with LaGreca as well as Bully Ray. And when they were on hiatus, he said he wasn't, fearful. He wasn't afraid, but it did ponder, his mind, so to speak, whether or not they were going to come back as the NWA. He had all the faith in the world as far as Billy Corgan goes, but at the end of the day, he's a businessman. He's going to do what's best for business. But he's happy. He's excited. He helped, I guess, with regards to FITE, and getting that deal done. But it is good to see the NWA back, talking about Jim Crockett Jr. at the beginning of the show there, but it's good to see the NWA back. And like I said, March 21st is going to be the pay-per-view, and then March 23rd for NWA Power once again. And they had put out a promo clip about a minute in length on YouTube. And you can see, they've lost quite a few stars. Like Ricky Starks is now NWA. Who else? A few other people as well. Not NWA, but AEW. And obviously they've lost some of those guys. But the fact is, the guys that they showed, the women that they showed in the promo video, the clip, still makes you excited. And it's the NWA, and it's Aldis, and Aldis has carried himself like Ric Flair and did back in the day, as far as that, how important that 10 pounds of gold actually is. So I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for them to come back March 21st. And then, like I said, on the 23rd as well. So, guys, continuing on, if I can get to the right screen here. NWA, NXT. And this was interesting as well. And technology. NXT close on finalizing move to Tuesday starting after WrestleMania. This news broke. Obviously, it's been rumored for some time, considering the fact they keep getting their butts handed to them by AEW. This is courtesy of F4WOnline.com, but it appears the Wednesday Night War will be coming to an end as NXT and USA have been discussing moving the show to Tuesday nights, a conversation that may be in the final stages of being put into motion. Targeted date for the move is April 13th, the first Tuesday after WrestleMania. So that came out on the 2nd. I will get more into that when I talk about the rumors of the week. Because I was talking about it with somebody on Twitter, and when I started talking about it with them on Twitter, the hamster wheel started spinning, so to speak. And when the hamster wheel started spinning, I started thinking to myself, this actually could become a reality. I'll get more into that when I talked about the rumors. 3 more title matches confirmed for Sacrifice. That takes place on, is that the 21st as well? Where are we here? Nope, 13th. Sorry, next weekend. My apologies. Something else taking place on the 21st, I believe. The NWA show, I believe, is 4 p.m. in the afternoon. But no, it's WB. So NWA is doing early on in the afternoon, then WB is going to do Fastlane that night. So 2 pay-per-views. That's going to be a busy weekend. So Sacrifice is proving it to be another must-see event with the addition of 3 more championship matches. Don't miss any of the action, streaming March 13th exclusively on Impact Plus. So official, Good Brothers defending the Impact World Tag Team Championships against Finjuice. And by the way, New Japan Pro Wrestling is promoting this. They are on board. You can go to their website. You can go to their Twitter feed and see Impact Wrestling in this tag team championship match being promoted. So that's kind of cool. From there, we get Deonna Purrazzo defending against ODB for the Knockouts Championship. That's going to be interesting there. ODB's a character, not necessarily a huge fan of her style. It's very unique, but she's definitely a character. And, all the props to her. And then from there, we go TJP versus Ace Austin for the X Division Championship. I'm going to predict early that Ace Austin wins, but I've been wrong with regards to going against TJP in the past. So we'll have to wait and see there, guys. Comment, and it is spam. Imagine that. The one thing I will tell you, most of the comments that come in from Facebook as well as YouTube are perfect. But the ones that come in from Twitch, I don't understand the spam theory. So if you're out there and you know anything about spam comments on Twitch, and I have Googled it, but I haven't figured out how to do the back stuff. I'm not big on Twitch. I mean, I stream live on Twitch, but I don't know anything about some of the stuff that a lot of the successful people do on Twitch. But anyways, if you know how to get rid of the spam on Twitch, let me know, guys. Where are we here? Tom Nakano wins the World of Stardom Championship from Julia. That was on the 3rd. You can check that out on postwrestling.com. Natalya Neidhart released an article just recently. New WB doc highlights journey of a female wrestler. That was released on the 3rd. That is referring to Heaven premiering at 8:25 p.m.-ish on the WWE Network this coming Sunday. When I say 8:25 p.m.-ish, it's because there's a Goldberg special on before. When I checked out Rogers Ignite just before I did the show here today, it shows 8:25. So it's whenever the WWE Network's basically the website says whenever Goldberg is over, basically Heaven's going to premiere. But it's only about a 35-minute long or 30-minute long video there. But it's narrated by Beth Phoenix, and it should be interesting. And when you see some of the photos, so when I was I posted the article for Natalya on CWNonline.ca, the link for it. And then when I was going looking for photos, this Heaven Fitch looks like a beast. And there was one of the shots where she's on the podium, so to speak, and the guys, the boys, so to speak, just look, just like their hearts have been broken. But good for her, And the cool thing about Beth Phoenix narrating this, I'm looking forward to it this coming Sunday. Unfortunate news: Kacy Catanzaro suffers partial tear of her LCL. I'm just going to bring up the article here because I don't know if it listed time frame as far as how long she could be out. So NXT's Kacy Catanzaro was last in action for the brand in late February. She suffered, defeated by Xia Li in singles competition. The match ended by the way of ref stoppage. Commentary team stated Catanzaro may have suffered a broken leg after Xia's post-match attack. And when taking to social media, Catanzaro confirmed that she's dealing with a leg injury but suffered a partial tear of her LCL. She added she's working with WWE's medical staff to get back when it's possible to do so. There's a picture on, looks like Twitter, of her wearing a full leg brace there. And it doesn't go on to say how long she could be out, but well wishes are with Kacy Catanzaro because she had started to pick up steam there, and the next thing you know, she is on the shelf. Speaking about being on the shelf, report Marty Scurll not expected to be used by New Japan Pro Wrestling. So he had taped some stuff back in January, it looks like. News came out. It looks like they might have scrapped that. But that's the latest from a couple of different websites out there that Marty Scurll is not going to be appearing for New Japan Pro Wrestling of America. Cody Rhodes at EW Media Call. I listened to Pat McAfee, NXT Moving, new shows. So if you want to listen to that, you can check it out, CWNonline.ca or Post Wrestling. Of course, I think Slam Wrestling as well has the audio call up. I've actually reached out to AEW to find out how to be part of those audio calls. So I've sent them an email. Hopefully I get one back. It's been a good news kind of week, so I'll leave it at that. But if you ever see the audio officially on the website and not third-party linked, it means I've managed to be part of that, which would be really, really, really cool. From there, Chris Jericho and WB legends Sting and Paul White coming to AEW. That is an article by digitalspy.com. And then Jericho being Jericho, doesn't basically back down from saying that they were both misused, Sting and Paul White, the Big Show, by the WWE. New Japan Pro Wrestling 49th anniversary report, Kota Ibushi retains the double championship. So this is important because this is where New Japan Pro Wrestling is going to go going forward. Just going to bring up the article here. So New Japan Pro Wrestling returned to Budokan Hall 49th anniversary card this past Thursday. So yesterday, the final defense of the double championship before the belts merged. So in front of announced attendance at 3206, Kota Ibushi retained the championship, defeating newly crowned IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion El Desperado. Ibushi repeated his intentions of merging the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental titles to form the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So that is amazing there. It'd be interesting. I love the fact they put the belt on Kota. The fact that they got El Desperado fighting on, huge fan. Like, if you ever heard me talking in the show, with regards to Will Ospreay. So I think it's pretty damn cool that Coda is the one to merge the belts and see where they go forward from there. Other matches on the card: Hiroki Goto, Tomoaki Hanma, and Master Wato and Gabriel Kidd over Minoru Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., Taichi, and Dookie. Jay White, Evo Kenta, Taiji Ishimori, and Chase Owens over Hiroshi Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, David Finlay, Toru Hanare, and Rizuki Taguchi. Kazuchika Okada, Sho, and Tomohiro Ishii over Shingo Takagi, Sanada, and Bushi. New Japan's starting to get back to what they do best, and that's basically putting on 6-man tags, 8-man tags, 10-man tags before the singles main events there. And then we go into New Japan Cup opening round. Jeff Cobb over Satoshi Kojima. So Kojima is out. New Japan Cup opening round as well. So the Great Okan over Tatsuya Naito. So Naito is out. The Great Okan apparently, haven't seen the match yet, but worked the injured legitimate knee of Naito. So gives Naito some time to heal. And then the double championship match, as previously reported, Kota Ibushi over El Desperado in just over 20 minutes there. So Kota Ibushi, double champion to world heavyweight champion. And we'll have to wait and see where they go from here. Wrestle Grand Slam to hit Yokohama Stadium and the Tokyo Dome this coming May. I tell you this, and guys, you're probably with me, but there seems to be a sense from a lot of wrestling fans that I talk to with regards to just feeling that sense, feeling that vibe that wrestling is right around the corner again. And you get excited about the stuff, like I'm a New Japan fan, okay? And all of a sudden they talk about May, which means 2 months from now, New Japan Pro Wrestling, barring any kind of major disaster, knock on wood, by the way, is going to be back in full-fledged. I shouldn't say I was, but I am a huge fan in Japan, and I was making plans to go to Wrestle Kingdom this past January. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen. I even mentioned it to my wife the past couple of days, and she goes, "Well, maybe not 2022, but maybe 2023." So that is my goal right now. I'll let this year go through, try to get back to normal here in North America, here in Canada, and maybe start planning my trip to Japan for Wrestle Kingdom in 2023. I think that'd be absolutely cool. But long-winded story, wrestling, Tokyo Dome, Japan, May, I'm loving it. So, in a huge announcement during March 4th anniversary event, it was revealed that New Japan Pro Wrestling action will hit Yokohama Stadium on May the 15th and the Tokyo Dome on May the 29th for Wrestle Grand Slam. The announcement marks New Japan's first Tokyo Dome event outside of January in 16 years, and the first time ever New Japan will come to Yokohama Stadium. After the success of Summer Struggle in Jingu Stadium in 2020, New Japan Pro Wrestling action will be in an open-air baseball stadium once more for what is soon to be a historic event, and that before a return to the Tokyo Dome. What major matches will be coming this May? Stay tuned for details. That's courtesy of the New Japan Pro Wrestling official website there. Guys, I'm excited, and you can probably tell. Tony Khan previews Revolution 2021. That is the latest edition of AEW Unrestricted. Shaq edition of Dynamite hits 2021 viewership high. The demo drops, though. I'll get into that when I talk about the ratings. We're back from the NWA. I told you about that with regards to YouTube. Guys, anything I talk about is basically I take everything from the website and group it all into one, and hence CWN Weekly. So most of it, if not all of it, is always on cwnonline.ca for the full articles there. But this is just my way of talking about it on a podcast, as well as bringing light to it, sharing my thoughts, everything else. But any of the stuff I usually talk about 99% of it is on the website. So cwnonline.ca. And continuing, Winnipeggers Live Idiot Olympics Part Number 2. That was on yesterday with Jericho and his boys. So you can check that out. The link's on cwnonline.ca. Women's tag titles to be defended at WB Fastlane. Why was the first word that came to my mind. And when I say that, it's, Sasha, Bianca fighting for the championship at WrestleMania. We know that. So why not have put those titles on them before that announcement was made? Now I feel that they could put the titles on them at Fastlane, or it might be a sense of, like I've talked about before, Hogan Warrior, just too big of egos coming to it. But to me, you don't want to have. It's WWE though. You don't want to have tag team champions going for the SmackDown Women's Championship, because you could have had those tag team championships defended elsewise. You know what I mean? Anyways, it is what it is. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens on March 21st. But yeah, it's Sasha and Bianca taking on Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler once again. New Japan Cup update. I talked about that, but this was as of this morning there. So a little bit more news with regards to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I talked about Cobb. He's going against Evil in his next match. Okan moved on, Toru Yano moved on, Hiroki Goto moves on, and then that's it. So that's all the left side of the bracket. Right side of the bracket has not happened yet. So still to come on the left side of the bracket here. We got Okada taking on Shingo Takagi, Hanma taking on Minoru Suzuki, and Juice Robinson taking on Kenta. And it'd be interesting because you got Hiroki Goto, who's advanced, will be taking on the winner of Okada and Takagi. And they keep talking about the reintroduction, so to speak, of the Rainmaker. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But that match is officially taking place tomorrow morning between Okada and Shingo Takagi, as well as Hanma Suzuki and Kenta and Juice Robinson. So it's going to be interesting. 12 matches announced for a Saturday edition of AEW Dark. I'm not going to go through them, but you know where to find it. And it's not that I don't appreciate AEW Dark. It's just there's so much wrestling on a weekly basis, and it's especially on Tuesdays as well. So, but guys, tomorrow's a little bit different because of the fact is it's a Saturday. UFC's on tomorrow, but I may actually check out the AEW Dark. Like I said, but there's 12 matches taking place. Other big news for AEW: Captain Sean Dean signs contract with AEW. That was announced today as well. And then the WWE reportedly discussing 2-night NXT TakeOver before WrestleMania. So that's interesting here. That broke just before I went on the air here today. This is courtesy of F4WOnline.com. PW Insiders reporting the WWE is mulling over a decision on holding a 2-night NXT TakeOver on Wednesday and Thursday prior to this year's WrestleMania. The plan comes to be that we give WWE 6 straight days of programming between Wednesday and Monday with 2 nights of NXT, SmackDown, 2 nights of WrestleMania, and Raw. PW Insider reports that the first night of TakeOver would be on USA. Its final one on Wednesday night, with the second night available on WB Network. At that point, it's believed the network will be available on the Peacock streaming service. So that's going to be interesting. 2 nights of WrestleMania, as well as potentially 2 nights of NXT TakeOver. So stay tuned, guys. But that I will post on CWNonline.ca and then any follow-ups as well. So rumor time, just 2 of them. Number 1, major star to appear on AEW Revolution 2021. That was announced by Paul White. The internet's blowing up currently right now. There's a lot of people going back and forth. Some getting kind of feisty, so to speak. But the fact is, I mean, I've seen names like, John Cena mentioned, and The Rock mentioned, and Brock Lesnar mentioned. I believe in the promo, Paul White had said, it's a future Hall of Famer. So that means somebody's not currently in the Hall of Fame. One of the names I heard dropped yesterday was Christian. Obviously, another one being Zelina Vega. Taya Trinidad, but when I think of the big names, well, one main name that came to mind was Mick Foley. I didn't realize that he had gotten back in, so he got inducted way back in 2013 into the WWE Hall of Fame. So it's not him. It's going to be interesting. I mean, who wants to burn their bridge, so to speak? You know what I mean? Brock Lesnar, WWE is going to pay him too much money, but has he had talks with Tony Khan? That's the big thing. And, with Jericho, he's always, I think, been tight with Big Show, Paul White. So it just made sense, and then Matt Hardy and all those sort of guys, they all have connections, right? But who's left to have a connection with these guys? Brock Lesnar, why? Because he come in and destroy the AEW roster. I don't want to see Brock Lesnar, Kenny Omega. It's to me, it'd be pointless. So who do you get left? Christian. Why though? He was in Impact Wrestling TNA. Let him do his swan song there in the WWE, especially after the Royal Rumble. To me, that would honest to God piss me off if Christian ends up in not Impact Wrestling, but AEW. So the one name I'm going to put out there, and I'm probably going to get lynched and mobbed for it, is this. So if you remember back a little while ago, it actually is 2 names. And one of them just came to mind because I completely forgot about it, but 2 names. I'll start with this guy first. Kurt Angle. Are we going to see Kurt Angle in AEW? But Kurt Angle is in the WWE Hall of Fame. So with that being said, who's left? Who was going to be a part of StarCast that people were freaking out about. Who is now in AEW? Sting. Who's always been the guy the dream match has been talked about going up against Sting? And we'll see this Sunday if it's a cinematic match with Sting and Darby Allin taking on Cage and Starks. But who is that one name? The Undertaker. Are we going to see The Undertaker in AEW on Sunday? Kind of goosebumps talking about it just a little bit because I think it'd be cool. I don't know how tight he still is with WWE and Vince McMahon after everything that happened in Survivor Series, his swan song, so to speak. But can you imagine? Because at one point he was signed to do an appearance for StarCast. So I'm going to leave it at that. Like I said, lynch me if you want to. But can you imagine The Undertaker, who's always been tight with the Big Show Paul White, at AEW Revolution this coming Sunday? You want to blow up the internet, that will do it. The other side of things, last rumor I want to talk about, and this I was talking about with somebody on Twitter just a couple of days ago, and that is with regards to New Japan Pro Wrestling, the rumor of them going back to Access TV. So what does that mean for Impact Wrestling? Well, Impact Wrestling cut one of the lowest ratings it ever has this past week. There's a new show that is being talked about, not Elevation, but a new show to be on TV. With that being said, the words I put were rest in peace Impact Wrestling with question mark. The reason I say that is because it's a matter of time, I think, with the connection AEW has to Impact Wrestling, with Tony Khan doing the promos every single week. Why not take Impact Wrestling, have their video library available, even come up with an AEW streaming service, courtesy of FITE or Bleacher Report or their own, and then basically have all that history, have all that footage. You've seen Don Callis, the way he's been part of AEW, the Good Brothers that have been part of AEW, working back and forth. But then all of a sudden, now you get that New Japan connection, and they're being talked about on Access TV. So I think before the end of the year, Impact Wrestling, as a company that we know it, is done. And I hate saying that because I've been a fan of Impact Wrestling since day one. But the fact is, when it comes down to it, it's what's best for business. And it might be the end of Impact Wrestling as we know it. So guys, feedback at cwnonline.ca. Your thoughts on The Undertaker and AEW, and your thoughts on Impact Wrestling being bought out by AEW by the end of the year there. So to me, that is interesting. So highlights of the week. Go through these quickly. Raw highlights. McIntyre defeats Sheamus. Nia Jax defeats Naomi. Miz got a case of the Mondays, as they called it. Hurt Business defeats Strowman and Adam Pearce to retain the tag team titles. Yes, that did take place. Damian Priest defeats Elias. Lashley defeats Miz by countout. Yes, that took place. Miz basically took the belt and ran. It was comical to me, but I'm glad they set it up the way they did at the end. Charlotte Flair defeats Shayna Baszler. Riddle and Lucha House Party defeats Retribution. Ali defeats Riddle. And then Lashley defeats The Miz to become new WWE champion, which is cool. AEW Dark highlights, 14 matches took place. Seek that out. Impact highlights, Ace Austin defeats Chris Bay and Black Taurus to become number one contender for the X Division Championship. Dashwood defeats Havoc, the Good Brothers, and Finjuice as a tag team. Defeats Triple XL and Reno Scum. Eddie Edwards defeats Brian Myers by DQ. Matt Cardona is the special ref. He knows all Brian Myers' tricks. So we disqualified him after, basically Myers being Myers. And then Deonna Purrazzo defeats Jordan Grace and Kiera Hogan in a triple threat match in the main event. ROH highlights. LFI, Soul Affection, Ingoblable. Leon King defeats the Foundation, which is Lethal and Gresham, to become the new ROH Tag Team Champions. That was in a Pure Rules match. And then Roosh defeats Shane Taylor to retain in the main event there. Fusion highlights. So MLW. World Tag Team Championship match. Los Parks defeat Contra Unit, which was Davari and Gotch to retain. Perro returned to defeat Dugan. Kelvin Tankman defeats Laredo Kid. World Heavyweight Championship match. Jacob Fatu defeats Jordan Oliver to retain. Dynamite quickly here. The Crossroads highlights. Shaq and Jade Cargill defeats Cody Rhodes as well as Red Velvet. That was an amazing match. I was a fan of it, and it was kind of cool for them to start out AEW that way as well. Then we go into Pac and Phoenix defeating John Skyler and D3. Jericho MJF press conference. You had everybody from Bleacher Report guys to Eric Bischoff to Conrad Thompson asking questions. It was actually kind of cool. Blanchard, yes, Tully Blanchard and FTR with the one and only JJ Dillon defeats Jurassic Express. And then post-match, Sean Spears comes out. And he realigns himself with Tully as well as FTR, and then Arn Anderson comes out onto the stage and simply does this and then walks away. So I'm loving it. Shivani Paul White promo. That's where White kind of hyped everybody up. Ryo Misanami defeats Nyla Rose in the 20 finals, which was a kind of a shock. Shivani does his normal kind of weekly thing with Sting. Darby Allin, Team Taz, they all get into a melee, setting up for this coming Sunday. Platinum Max Caster defeats 10 with -1 in Face of the Revolution qualifier there. And then Paige and John Silver defeats Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn in the main event. NXT highlights: Lorcan and Birch defeats Ciampa and Thatcher non-title. Balor and Strong have a promo. Theory had a breakthrough in therapy with The Way, which was kind of funny. Ember Moon defeats Aaliyah. Jackson Baszler defeats Gonzalez and Kai to retain. Regal and Pierce have a promo. So Regal with a major announcement coming up next week. That could relate to NXT TakeOver being 2 nights before Mania, by the way, now that I think of it. Cameron Grimes defeats Reed, but we get an LA Knight interference and appearance, which is kind of cool. Legado del Fantasma took out Breezango and Everrise. Balor defeats Roderick Strong, a non-title match in the main event. And then we get a Finn Balor, Adam Cole stare down. NXT UK highlights: Ilya Dragunov defeats Sam Gradwell, referee stoppage. Tyler Bate on Noam Dar's Supernova Sessions. Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan defeats Ashton Smith and Oliver Carter. NXT UK Women's Champion Kaylee Ray defeats Miko Satomura to retain their ratings this week. 1,884,000 for Raw, 0.58 in the 18 to 49 demo. First for the night. Impact 134. Like I said, one of the lowest ever. 0.03 in the 18 to 49 demo, 130th for the night. AEW Dynamite 934, 0.33 in the 18 to 49 demo, 6th for the night. Canada, they were 88,100 and then 42,300 in the 25 to 54 demo. And then NXT was 692.20 in the 18 to 49 demo, 19th for the night. And then Canada, they did not finish among the top 10 sports programs because their average was below 73,600 viewers. That's courtesy of Post Wrestling right there. SmackDown preview tonight: Daniel Bryan, Jey Uso in a steel cage. I'm going to say basically Daniel Bryan goes on to win to face Roman Reigns at Fastlane there to set that up. And then we got Bianca Belair battling one half of the women's tag team champions in Shayna Baszler. 205 Live saw nothing listed. And then New Japan Strong preview for tonight. Main event is Rocky Romero taking on Leo Rush, New Japan Cup USA 2021 qualifying match. So huge night as far as wrestling goes. I'm looking forward to it. Huge weekend as far as wrestling goes. Other news: MMA Pro Boxing. Canadian Alexis Davis looks impressive in first action in 19 months. These articles you can find out on cwnonline.ca. DC and Hawane took place as usual this past Monday, so that was on the 1st. Canadian welterweight Rory McDonald to make PFL debut on April 29th. That was released on the 2nd. Also released on the 3rd. Strawweight Ronda Marcos becomes the 3rd Canadian on UFC 260 card. So I just saw that. I'm going to have to read into it, but it will be up on cwnonline.ca. Big news here for any fans of UFC, probably the past 10 to 15 years, so to speak. I just want to bring up the article because it kind of shocked me. And it's not one of those things where all of a sudden it's MMA, mixed martial arts, they get Legends deals. It's once these guys aren't able to perform, they end up getting released. And when I say that, UFC releases former champion Junior Dos Santos, so JDS and Alistair Overeem. People know the name Alistair Overeem because of Brock Lesnar. JDS has been huge. But the fact is, it's insane to know these guys get released. It's such a different feel from pro wrestling, the way that mixed martial arts UFC deals with things. But months after Dana White said the organization would be likely cutting more fighters, UFC has released both former heavyweight champion JDS Junior Dos Santos and former title challenger Alistair Overeem. ESPN's Ariel Helwani reported that Dos Santos had 5 fights left on his contract, while Overeem had 2. Helwani reported the UFC offered Dos Santos a short notice fight at this month's UFC 260 against Marcin Tybura, which he declined, leading to his release. Given the high-profile UFC 259 this weekend, it's likely White will discuss the releases during his media obligations. So we got it's the article goes on and on, but it's interesting, like I said, to me, the way they do things, MMA versus pro wrestling, but it's just the way it is. But I wouldn't be surprised to see these guys in Bellator, or to head over to Asia, and one of the times, right, obviously, to be part of one championship. So it'll be interesting. From there, speaking of one championship, Fist of Fury 2 took place earlier this morning. You can find the link, cwnonline.ca. And then the big event, just referring to this coming weekend. So tomorrow, UFC 259, Blachowicz versus Adesanya, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on pay-per-view UFC Fight Pass. Prelims 8 p.m. on TSN 5. Early prelims at 6 p.m. on UFC Fight Pass as well. UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Main event, John Blachowicz taking on... actually, I'm going to say it as I wrote it. John Blachowicz, hopefully I pronounced his last name right, defends the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship against UFC Middleweight Champion Israel, the Last Stylebender Adesanya. He is UFC Middleweight Champion, so he is going for a double championship there. Other big matches for tomorrow night include these two here. Amanda the Lioness Nunes defends the UFC Women's Featherweight Championship against Megan Anderson. And then Peter, I want to say Peter, I'm going to get the names right. No Mercy Yan defends the UFC Bantamweight Championship against Aljamain Funk Master Sterling. And those are the three big matches taking place for UFC 259 tomorrow night. So that'll be interesting here. I tell you this, if I can get the names Royce Gracie right, way back in the day, I should be able to get these names right. So it's a matter of practice makes perfect, right? But you'll see it happen, and you'll see more MMA talk from me this coming year, and that is the plan, as well as pro boxing as well. But it's getting through this pandemic as well. So guys, going to take a quick break here. And as always, we'll come back and talk about some Canadian independent wrestling and some more news as well. But check out these promos, and I'll be right back. So sit back and relax.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Do you want the latest info on shows and the stars that appear throughout Ontario? Are you looking for information and insight into the independent wrestling scene? Want interviews and information on the big leagues? Then you want Knights of the Squared Circle with Ryan Knight on Coyote 103. Ryan has his finger on the pulse of wrestling in Ontario on every level, and he brings that to you every Sunday at noon. Listen for your wrestling fix with Ryan Knight and Knights of the Squared Circle, Sunday at noon, only on Coyote 103.
Hey, are you getting tired of the grind? Getting tired of the same old? Getting tired of living in an echo chamber? Well, if you are, tune in to the Duke You Suck podcast with Duke Durango. We'll be talking wrestling, sports of all kinds, politics, medicine, and whatever else we want to get into. What I'm really looking for is for you to go on a journey with me. Perhaps we find some common ground and hopefully have a laugh along the way. So watch this space for the first episode dropping soon, the Duke You Suck podcast with me, Duke Durango.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Hashtag we are CIW, of course, and CanadianIndependentWrestling.ca forward you to the Facebook group, and we are growing, which is absolutely great. But thanks to Ryan Knight, Knights of the Squared Circle, as well as Duke Durango of the Duke You Suck podcast. I love that name still. But so far, he has had on his show Natalia and Tyson Kidd, also known as TJ Wilson. But it's been interesting, and he's been, like I said, out there since the whole time I've been doing websites. So and that's way back in the early 2000s, so to speak. So it is nice to see another podcast out there on the market, and he actually is grateful for what he is doing. But in saying grateful, grateful to know Ryan Knight, and seems like a cool kid, everything else. But he posted on Instagram, and this is something I've never been a part of, and it's just because I don't know, I was more into sports and baseball and video games and this and that. I've never actually been into the Dungeons and Dragons thing, so I have no idea what it entails. But he had posted tonight, so courtesy of the Knights of the Squared Circle. This comes courtesy of Instagram, by the way. So Loon's Labyrinth, a D&D adventure, returns live tomorrow night. So this was posted yesterday, so live tonight at 8 p.m. For the first time, we'll be broadcasting live on our Facebook page as well as Twitch. Please join us in welcoming Grinder Mark Shaw to the Labyrinth. Mark is a powerhouse on the Ontario wrestling scene with a special place in his heart for Dungeons and Dragons. And then he goes on to say, get ready for an incredible night of action and adventure featuring some of Ontario's hottest talents, including the Great Canadian Loon, Shiloh Polly, Kyle Boone, B. Travis Moore, and more. And then he goes on to say, Knights presented by Knights of the Squared Circle. You can check out the website, knightsofthesc.com. If you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, check that out. So it's going to be on Twitch as far as Jay Loon's channel goes, as well as Knights of the Squared Circle. So knightsofthesc.com and his Facebook channel there, courtesy of Ryan Knight. I'm going to post the links. You'll be able to find them on CWN as far as Facebook goes, as well. I'll post them on the CWN Weekly Facebook page as well, just so people can have them. But I've never really been into Dungeons and Dragons. It's just kind of my group when I was growing up in the Maritimes, more into video games and sports and stuff like that. But it's always had a huge following, and I may tune in tonight just to see what it's all about, because I obviously no concept or clue. But I'll post the links, like I said, on Facebook for the Dungeons and Dragons thing there by the Mr. Ryan Knight and Knights of the Squared Circle. Article is pretty cool here. So this was released on the 1st. A year into lockdown, CWE and ECCW aim to relive live events in 2021. So a very lengthy article on slamwrestling.net with regards to CWA, which is Canadian Wrestling's elite promoter, Danny Duggan, also known as Hot Shot, also known as Danny Warren. And then they talk to the one and only Scotty Mack as well, I believe, in this article here. But huge changes coming up for ECCW with regards to the Speaking Out movement, and you can read about that in the article on Slam Wrestling. But ECCW, one of those companies that when way back in the early 2000s I had learned about, the same way with CWE has just been going strong. I think when I really first begun the Facebook page for CWN, Danny Warren was always posting live events and stuff like that. And then when you look at the tours that he look at the tours that he does, it's absolutely insane. But check that out. Article, like I said, it's called A Year into Lockdown. CWE and ECCW aim to revive live events in 2021. So check that out. Link is up on cwnonline.ca as well. So YouTube videos of the week. I'll be glad when I can say shows taking place this weekend once again. But YouTube videos. The Alliance Pro Wrestling Network Sunday special interview presents Holden Albright. So Lewis Carlin's been doing Sunday interviews. He's got a whole list of them that are coming up. And I might bring that up just momentarily here. But on the 28th, which was last Sunday, Holden Albright was part of his interview series there. New Evolved on Rogers TV. Episode number 96, Tyson Dukes taking on Matt Wheeler with Vera Vine, I want to say, and an NEW title match that was on the 28th as well. The Duke You Suck podcast, episode number 2, with guest former WWE Women's Champion Natalie K. Neidhart, Natalia, that was released on the 2nd. Then he follows up on the 3rd with the Duke You Suck podcast thank you video. So it was kind of cool. He released, I think it was about a 4 or 5 minute video just saying thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Thanks to TJ Wilson as well as Natalia for being part of it, and talking about his excitement for upcoming shows and everything else. So it just seems like a genuine dude. But like I said, the Duke You Suck podcast. So that's I'm loving the name. That might be the name of the year for a podcast in my books here. Vidcast 41 featuring Georgia Smith took place yesterday. That is courtesy of the one and only George Mackay of Straight Talk Wrestling there. New this week, B-Dub Redub, episode 1 featuring Shane Saber and Mark Wheeler. That was released yesterday as well, courtesy of Barry Wrestling. So that looks to be a weekly series by them on YouTube. Episode number 81, Mark Wheeler once again, but it was the Mark Wheeler Open Challenge. Corey Stone taking on Jesse V as well for the Adrenaline Division Championship that was released as well yesterday. So Bordertown Pro Wrestling, MPW Monster Pro Wrestling Into the Lair, episode number 16. Featured the Sultan versus the Phoenix. So that was yesterday as well. Today, Penelope Ford taking on Beautiful Bay. That was courtesy of Alpha One Wrestling. And then episode number 86, Rip Impact taking on Timothy Crane, 2 out of 3 falls match, courtesy of CPW. And then 365 Pro Wrestling Podcast, episode number 92, with Tex Lexus taking place today. So that was released as well. It just kind of reminded me, I don't know why, but I was watching WrestleMania 10 last night. And that opening match between Brett and Owen is absolutely phenomenal. But there was it was the 2 out of 3 falls, the thing I just said there, but it was Crush taking on Macho Man Randy Savage, and it was a falls count anywhere match, but it was a different style of rules, and I didn't realize this. So they're beating up on each other. Next thing you know, Crush pins Macho Man. He drops him on the guardrail, and then he goes back to the ring. And the announcers, McMahon and Lawler, like, he's got 60 seconds to get back in the ring. So, you know, they go and do their thing and continuously throughout the match. And this is the same match where Macho Man attempted to hoist up Crush by his feet and backstage, and Crush ends up falling and selling and whatever the case may be, and Macho Man celebrates in the ring. But it got me thinking, thank God they changed the rules, because falls count anywhere means falls count anywhere. That's it. One fall, match is done. But back in the day, WrestleMania 10, so we're talking 1994, it was you pin the guy, you have to get back to the ring. The guy has 60 seconds to get back in the ring. And if the guy can't get back in the ring in 60 seconds, he loses. So that takes away Randy Macho Man Savage's elbow. That means, what do? You Macho Man climbs up on the top rope, hits that elbow in the middle of the ring, and then pushes the guy outside. Like, thank God the concept got better. But the 2 out of 3 falls match I was just talking about there reminded me of that. But WrestleMania 10, Bret versus Owen, and obviously Macho Man versus Crush. But check that out. Also check out Slugging with Stephen O'Neill, featuring Gabriel Fuerza. That took place on Tuesday. So every Tuesday, 6 p.m., CWN, exclusive to CWN, Stephen O'Neill presents a different interview series, a different interview as part of his interview series every Tuesday. He's got a lot of them lined up. I've seen the names. I'm really impressed. Very impressed by Gabriel Fuerza. He does great with answering some of the questions there, but you can check that out, cwnonline.ca. Like I said, Slugging with Stephen O'Neill, featuring Gabriel Fuerza, and that's every Tuesday at 6. You'll see a new interview launch. And as far as everything else goes, CanadianIndependentWrestling.ca, like it said, you can check that out right there, CanadianIndependentWrestling.ca, forwards you to the Facebook group. Keep it clean, but promote. That's all I can talk about right there. From there, guys, getting towards the end of the show here. CWN Online, next set of shows coming up. And that was a lot of noise, but it wasn't the cat. CWN predicts AEW Revolution 2021 taking place live this coming Sunday, or premiering this coming Sunday, depending. March the 7th, 3 p.m. on Facebook, Twitch, as well as YouTube. Followed up by CWN Recap, AEW Revolution 2021. If I'm still lively at 11:15 p.m.-ish, I'll do the show live. That would be Sunday, March 7th as well. If not, you'll see it on Monday, but that'll be the recap show for AEW Revolution 2021. And then the next episode of CWN Weekly taking place March the 3rd, episode 30, taking place March the 12th, live at 3 p.m., Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And like I said, I may switch things up. I may, opening graphics, opening theme music, as well as some of the promos, everything else. But episode 30, I made it. Well, not yet, but next Friday. So we'll have to wait and see there. CWN Weekly, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, as well as YouTube. Check that out separately. So there's own separate channels for CWN Weekly on social media. So, if you're a fan of the show, the weekly show, check that out and subscribe and like and all that jazz. I only said it once so far this week, and I'm almost at the end of the show. So that's pretty cool. Something I am excited about, guys, is this. It's called the Canadian Wrestling Network. So CanadianWrestlingNetwork.ca. Social media, you can see down below there, Canadian Wrestling Network. Just type that in. You'll be able to find the links. But Facebook, as well as Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. I switched out Facebook the past couple of days, so it was a page. And then talking to my wife, I was like, maybe I should turn this into a group. And she was like, well, if you want the social interaction, of course, page is more kind of for CWN Weekly or CWN Online. It's me talking about something. So have a page for it. But the group is great for interaction. So that's what I did. So we restarted to grow again as far as Facebook goes, but is now a group and not a page. But I want that interaction. So if you're a fan of the network, or you want to talk about the network, you want to talk about anything regarding Canadian wrestling, feel free. But it's already starting to be social interactive as well. In saying that, YouTube, there's a series up there, so you can check out anybody affiliate with Canadian Wrestling Network on YouTube. Instagram, we're doing well with. Twitter, we're doing well with as well. Twitch, we haven't got into yet. I'm still trying to think of what I want to do. I might start hosting channels. So Twitch, I know, and as much as I said, I don't really know a lot about it in the beginning of the show. Twitch, I know you can host other people's channels. So in saying that, I'll take anybody who's involved with Canadian Wrestling Network and maybe take their channel and host their stuff, legally, of course, because that's the way that Twitch works. When I'm not doing anything with regards to the channel, I haven't thought of anything to do with it yet, but the time will get there. I'll tell you this. But in saying that, network at cwnonline.ca is the way to email me. With regards to Canadian Wrestling Network, I'll tell you this, it's basically, I'm going to read this here because it's the best way to put it with regards to the network itself, my goal and what I want to accomplish. So let's see if I can bring this up here quickly. So that's the other thing bad about Twitter sometimes too, is the fact is I like to keep everything as consistent as possible, but sometimes you can't. So Twitter only... Oh, too many W's. Twitter only allows you so many characters as far as the name goes, and it kind of bugs me. I'm a little borderline OCD-ish, but in saying that, it's not the worst. But you can still, like I said, type in Canadian Wrestling Network and have it come up. But with the Canadian Wrestling Network, guys, this is it. Okay, our goal is simple: to promote every website, podcast, and social media channel associated with the Canadian Wrestling Network. Join now for free by emailing network@cwnonline.ca, and then one nation, one network, connect proud. And that's what it's all about there. It's free promotion of your website, your podcast, your interview series, anything you do as far as audio goes on Spotify, whatever the case may be, but it's free promotion. Okay. It's my way of putting together a network of people here in Canada that love doing podcasting, love doing websites, love doing shows or interviews, whatever the case may be. But it's not just Canada. If you're in Australia, if you're in the UK, if you're in the States, if you're in Japan, feel free to message me. Feel free to email me, network@cwnonline.ca. Yes, you're part of the Canadian Wrestling Network, but the Canadian Wrestling Network, our main goal is to basically be there for fans, to let fans know what's out there. So if you want to be part of the Canadian Wrestling Network, simply message me on social media at the links provided on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, whatever the case may be, or simply network@cwnonline.ca. It's been healthy growth so far, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm kind of amazed by it. And Instagram and Twitter, we are growing. Facebook, we're starting to grow again, but a lot of positive feedback from it, guys. So check that out. Simply put, CanadianWrestlingNetwork.ca is the address for it here. And this is 2 weeks in a row I've gone long-winded. So I'm going to say 2 more things, maybe 3 more things, and that's about it. NBA All-Star Game taking place this coming Sunday, 8 p.m. It'll be interesting. So I might be doing a multitask thing as far as the tablet and the TV goes, because obviously AEW Revolution's coming up. But the NBA All-Star Game's always interesting and nice to watch as well. Interviews. The one thing I've been lacking since I started doing this last August is interviews, and I miss it. So the last couple of days I've been getting in touch with people for interviews, things that I want to see as part of CWN, people that would excite me to interview as far as CWN goes. And you'll be surprised at some of the names that I've reached out to, and I've gotten a few responses back already. Again, positive responses. Just have to set up some dates. But the one thing I've been missing is doing interviews, and like I said, I've got a few that I've contacted and some positive feedback from them. So it's hopefully by the end of March. If not, we'll maybe do it for WrestleMania season there. But it's the one thing I am looking forward to right now, because I haven't done it since August, since CWN Weekly had started there. But guys, as always, check me out at Chris Maloney CWN on Twitter, as well as social media and all that sort of jazz. Only said it twice. And then for the show itself, feedback at cwnonline.ca is the best way to get in touch with the show there. So once again, guys, thoughts and prayers are with Jim Crockett Jr., as well as Chris Schultz, as well as Walter Gretzky. Way too soon, even though, it seems like some of them were around forever, like Walter, and Jim Crockett Jr. was up there in age as well. But With that being said, just enjoy life and enjoy the time that you have with your family and friends, and don't let anything sit on your shoulder for too long. Life's too short. But in saying that, we'll be back this coming weekend for predicts as well as recap for AW Revolution 2021, and then next Friday for episode number 30 of CWN Weekly. So guys, enjoy your week, take care, and we'll see everybody again sometime soon.